Hi, welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Today I have a very special guest. I have Mayor-elect of Midlothian, Mr. Justin Coffman. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing really well, DV. Thanks for having me on.
Well, congratulations. You are running unopposed, so that means that you are the new mayor of Midlothian. Before I go into that, though, I wanted to go ahead and thank Mayor Reno for his service.
Mhm.
Devil Dog Marine, you've done a lot for the city of Midlothian. You were a good and faithful servant, and I'm sure you will serve offline. And you've been a good mayor. Thank you so much for serving the people of Midlothian, Mayor Reno. God bless you on your further endeavors.
No
So,
doubt.
yeah, I heard that you were running for it, and you took a thing, and now you're going to be the mayor, and this is going to be your ship to drive. Of course, there's other there's city councilmen, and you're all kind of a team there, but
Absolutely.
direction, leadership, that's you now.
Yeah.
That falls
Yeah.
on you. So
Yeah.
um, I want there are a bunch of new houses, and we're going to go into that. So I just wanted you to give a quick little bio about yourself, so the people that may not know you can get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So I am a lifelong Midlothian resident, lived here my entire life. Have four kids, been married for 20 years to my beautiful wife, Crystal. And all four of my kids, well, other than one who's recently graduated, the other three are at MISD. So we are Midlothian through and through. I'm actually sixth generation in Ellis County, so I have deep roots here in the community. I'm a local pastor. I pastor, executive pastor at Harvest Hill Church. I was elected to the Midlothian City Council in 2018, so I've served, I guess it will be 5 years in May. Three of those five, I've served as the mayor pro tem, which is the, I guess, assistant mayor or vice mayor. And so taking this new step is sort of the next step. And it is, it's something that I've prayerfully considered. My family is on board with. And I believe that I have the experience needed, having served on council and as the pro tem for so long, to carry our community forward. And as you were talking about Mayor Reno and his service, to sort of grab the baton from him as we push on to the years ahead, so that we can continue a smooth transition and continue to keeping Midlothian the awesome community that it is.
And an awesome community, it really is. There's a lot going on here, and we're going to get into all of that. So what are your thoughts on property taxes in general?
Yeah, so just point of order before, I'm not yet the mayor. I will be elected mayor in May. So not quite there. I just want to make sure that's very clear that Mayor Reno is still the mayor.
Mayor Reno, still the ring.
Taxes is they are a necessary evil. I believe I don't operate in extremes one way or the other. And so I believe there's a balance to it. When elected in 2018, we since being elected in 2018, we have voted to lower the tax rate by over 5 cents since I first took the helm on the city council. I voted to lower the tax rate 4 out of 5 of my budget cycles, and the only one that I did not vote to lower the tax rate was the COVID year, and that was right when we were in the thick of it and there was a ton of unknown. And so I believe in balance. I believe in a gradual approach to lowering the tax rate. I don't think that it's wise to do extreme increases or extreme decreases, simply because usually the truth is found somewhere in the middle. And when you're a growing, thriving community as Midlothian is, you really need to take a balanced, moderate approach, in my opinion, to the tax rate specifically. So I hope to continue to gradually lower it throughout my tenure as well. But that's going to take creativity, and that's going to take working together as a city council, as the large group.
What is your thoughts on being transparent?
Yeah, no, I believe in absolute transparency. I believe I have a proven history of showing myself to be available and open to conversation, to joining people for coffee and having healthy discussions about our community. I've been active on social media, sometimes to my own fault and my own demise, but happy to talk with people anytime they have a question. I want to bridge the gap to make sure that people understand the processes and how we got to where we are. That being said, in 2018, when I was first elected, I attempted to get all of our city council meetings live streamed. I did not have the support at that time, but fortunately, under Mayor Reno's leadership, as soon as he was elected mayor, we got all the meetings are now live streamed, so that there's full transparency and everyone can see and watch either the city council meetings live, or they can watch them, the recorded version of them later. Not only that, but we took an additional step as a council, and we added in the planning and zoning meetings as well. So those are also live streamed. A lot of folks don't know that. You can actually go on and watch all of the planning and zoning meetings live or recorded. And at the time, we were a community of about 30,000 people. Now we're at like 38 or close to 40. But we weren't required by law to do that until you're at 50,000. So we were ahead of the curve in order to be more transparent, more open, more available to the people. So I feel like we've done a good thing. Obviously, there's always room to grow, but anyone who knows me would tell you that communication is my thing. So I'm here, I'm open, I'm available, happy to talk. We may not always agree, but we can have a cup of coffee and be neighbors and disagree cordially.
People need to be able to communicate with their elected officials.
Yeah, I believe in healthy dialogue. I think that if you're a sailor on a sailboat, you want to have some tension in the rope. And so it's good to have differing opinions. It's good to have a little bit of tension as we're making these big decisions. So people are welcome to question my thought processes and welcome to push me. I don't want to preach, but the Bible says iron sharpens iron. So let's sharpen one another, and let's form this community to be the best possible through healthy dialogue and healthy conversation.
Well, what better than to have a preacher on there? You know, you're definitely you're gonna get some God into it. But yeah. So how do you deal with? Because there are strong opinions in town about the way that this city should go. Yeah. I've been interviewing different candidates who may or may not be serving with you, and they have very strong opinions. So how do you deal with, as the mayor, as mayor-elect, and when you become mayor, how do you deal with those different personalities to get the business done for the city?
Yeah, I think that's the big challenge. I believe in strong leadership. I believe in pointed and very direct conversations. And when there's conflict, we're going to address the conflict, and we're going to do whatever we can do to create a healthy culture, a healthy working culture. And my goal is for every elected member of the Midlothian City Council to feel heard, you know, and that doesn't mean that their initiatives or their passions or personal passions will always be the ones that get approved. It takes 4 votes in order for that to happen. But at a bare minimum, I would hope that when I hang it up at the end of my term or my tenure on the city council or as your mayor, that other people that served alongside me would say, you know what, I didn't always agree with Justin or his stances or his points, but he was honorable in his conversation toward me, and I was heard. I was heard by him. I was heard by the people. I was able to express my feelings.
And there's this community is growing.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot going on with this community. The growth, when I was looking at the budget, the growth, let's see, in order to have the good stuff, I was looking at the budget for last year, and it talks about numbers. And there was even though there was a decline in the last year in the permits, we're still at 190% growth since 2010. Yeah. That's a lot of people with a population of 39,063. And that was then. It's probably larger now. We're probably in the 40s by now. Growth is happening, and how we grow is important. And so you will be leading these discussions.
Yep.
There's a lot of talk about how this place is growing. And I wanted to ask you, how do you envision this growth? Because some people, one of the things that happened with Midlothian was it became kind of heavy with housing and less business. Now that's starting to catch up, but things are still going over to Waxahachie. They're getting another supermarket. So how can we compete, and how do you envision our growth going?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. The first thing that I would say is a lot of the immediate growth that we're currently experiencing are planned developments, or they are developments that were approved many years ago. And so when people get upset about higher dense developments that are going in, it's really important to understand that sometimes those were approved back in the 90s, or the early 2000s. And so that sometimes it takes decades to develop those projects out. And so we are forced as a community oftentimes to deal with some of the repercussions of previous decisions. And I'm not criticizing previous decisions because, it's where you came from that got you to where you are. And so they were making decisions for those times. They weren't experiencing the rapid growth that we're experiencing now. And so there's a whole history there with some of the growth that we're experiencing. I will say that I'm very proud of this current council has held a little, in my opinion, a little higher standard as far as a good balance to the density. So as projects have come forward, this council has, in my opinion, with the help of our planning and zoning committee, the board has held stronger to a little less dense developments with our newly approved plan developments that are coming. So I would love to see us continue to hold the line and continue to do larger lot developments where it fits, and then maybe on our inner loop inside the bypass that might be a little higher dense, a little closer to downtown with some multi-use zoning. But generally speaking, I think that green space is good, rural feel is good. I think that it's a matter of time before we get all of the retail and commercial that the community desires and demands. I think all that's coming. It's just we had to meet certain thresholds in order to get there, and being right in between, Mansfield and Waxahachie and Cedar Hill has kind of who has all of those retail partners kind of puts us in a weird sort of bubble. That has kept them from coming. But now that we have the rooftops and the a little more of the daytime traffic, so to speak, I think that those projects will be here. It's just a matter of time.
What can you do, or what would you like to see the city do to attract more businesses, and not just retail, but jobs? I mean, things that people can make a living on. What would you like to see there? How do you envision going about that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of high-end, clean manufacturing, and I think that we've been really good through our economic development board to attract corporations and companies that bring a really good project that brings a really good product to our town and our community, specifically out there in the Railport industrial area. We've had a ton of really good projects, and one of their metrics that they determine whether it's a good project or not is average salary versus the average county wage. And so there is a demand that the average salary be much higher than the average salary in the county in order to determine if this is a good project to attract to our community. And in doing so, we've attracted some really good projects that are moving headquarters here and bringing a major portion of their manufacturing to our community. So I think that those community partners, in my opinion, will ultimately lead to our ability to lower the tax burden on the homeowner. And but it's playing chess. It's not checkers. It's not a quick game. It's a thorough, thoughtful strategy to attract the right partners in the right placement at the right time, in order to ultimately their taxable value with these corporations will offset the tax burden on the homeowner. And that's the long-term play, in my opinion, because I would love to see our tax rate creep down and down and down on a yearly or a bi-yearly basis with a gradual approach. But it's going to take, like I said, it's going to take a chess sort of approach, not a checkers approach. A checkers approach is let's just knock it out right now and be done with it. But there's wisdom in a balanced, strategic approach, and I'm hopeful that the future council will agree with that standpoint.
Okay, and that is kind of how you get relief for those homeowners that talk about their taxes by getting a little bit more of the other, what would be the other tax base that can help with that. So that's promising. That's good stuff that you're talking about. So I'm hoping that comes true for the city and the property owners of Midlothian. So one of the things that they talk about is the tax. Now, as you know, there are some serious structural issues with property taxes in the state of Texas. There's arguments going on in Austin. There's, arguments going on with the school districts, and I'm going to have them on with bonds. And the school district is by far the largest part of your tax bill. And then comes the city, and then comes the county. Okay. So those being those three chunks, and there's other things, but those being the three major chunks out of your property taxes. You can do what only you can do as far as the city is concerned.
Right.
I saw you, and I'm sorry for the monologue here, but I saw the tax debate this last year, the tax and budget. I paid attention. I interviewed you guys, and I talked about those numbers. But I wanted to kind of get a 30,000-foot view of your thought process here, because you were there for the arguments on taxes.
Yeah.
And okay, so the adopted tax rate was 65. It used to be 67, and then the no new revenue rate would have been 59, and then and so on and so forth. So there was that argument. Mayor-elect, about the taxes, and people talk about how they're losing their homes and they're not able, they hear, oh, well, it's only 3 cents more. Well, it's only 4 cents more. But right now, as they speak, they can't pay their property taxes. They're losing their home for property taxes. You could only do what you can do. Why not do a no new revenue rate?
Yeah, so my stance is, and again, I don't operate in extremes. And so we are a growing community that has growing community needs and infrastructure. We are light years behind on our roads projects. We have a need for, I have a desire to see Midlothian be named one of the safest cities in the state of Texas. And so that requires recruiting and hiring high quality police officers and firemen, paramedics. We need the best of the best in our community so that we can continue to be a growing and thriving, healthy community. And so that takes tax money. And so when you talk about no new revenue versus the 65-cent tax rate that we landed on, I would point to the fact that since I can only speak to the history that I've had on the city council, and that was, we were over 71 cents whenever I was first elected. And it's not all me. It was a team of folks that were like-minded. But since then, we have taken that chess-like strategic plan to lower the tax rate gradually and moderately so that it can be held. Because in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, with the police and the fire departments being over 50% of your city's budget, I don't believe that you can cut the tax rate to a no new revenue rate, that percentage, without touching those two departments. In my opinion, where else are you going to cut it? And so I think it's not wise. I think a gradual approach to lowering the tax rate is much wiser. And that way you can facilitate the infrastructure needs that you have as a community. You can continue to recruit and pay your highly qualified policing and fire and administrative teams, and you can continue to pave the roads that need to be paved and operate at a high service level that is demanded by, I would argue that during that whole budget process, I had more people calling me supporting a more moderate tax rate than I did people supporting a no new revenue rate, because they see the importance of a balance, and they see the importance of making sure that the service organization that is the city of Midlothian operates to the fullest level and still serves our community while having a reasonable tax rate. And so I would love to see us lower. I would love to see us in the 58 and the 53. I would love to see us at 30 cents ultimately, or lower even. But it takes time to get there. And we can't make, in my opinion, just speaking for myself, I don't believe we can make rash decisions and operate in extremes one way or the other. We need to take a gradual approach. And that's what I hope to see take place. But again, I'm one vote of 7, even as the mayor. I get 1 equal vote. And so if other folks are leaning a different way, then that's the way we'll go. So.
Yeah. And, there is a lot to be said about that. Like, I was looking at the general fund expenditures, and, these are just numbers I want for the audience. And personnel services are 68% of the budget. So that's huge. So when you say, hey, this is a growing city and there's stuff going on, and if we went that low, that might mean some cuts in services and people. When that much of your budget is personnel, I can see that happening.
It's hard. It's unavoidable. Not only that, DV, we were hemorrhaging highly qualified and highly trained police officers and paramedics to other cities. And for the audience, there's an extreme cost to the city to train firemen, paramedics, and police officers. And so we would recruit them. They would come to work for us for a year. It would cost the city, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but there's a metric there, a lot of money in order to train these officers. And when they're ready to be on the street and on patrol, they would leave to Mansfield or other cities because they could make more money. And so fortunately in this past budget, we were able to give a better wage in order to retain and recruit more officers. And I believe that it's worked. And so we are paying our folks what they're worth, or attempting to pay them closer to what they're worth and in their jobs, and not losing them to other cities because there's a cost there. And so it's really, I keep going back to it and I hate to, but it's really a strategic balance to governing a city. And so you're weighing the wants and the needs of the people, and you're weighing the needs of the service organization that you're tasked to manage and to run. And it's a delicate balance that really takes, in my opinion, takes a level head to approach each individual budget cycle and each individual decision with a very thoughtful mentality and approach.
There's a lot that goes into that, but how important is it to be a good steward to the people's money, to the citizens of Midlothian? How important is that to you?
It's absolutely our main focus and our main job. We have a duty to every single taxpayer in Midlothian to make sure that there's no waste, there's no overspending, and that we are being having due diligence with every dollar that's spent. And I believe that this council has a history under Mayor Reno's leadership, and previously when I served with Mayor Houston, under both of the councils that I've served on to this point, there has been a very thoughtful eye that has paid attention to the spending, where the money is going, and is it being maximized? And I believe the answer to that question is yes. And I'm proud to stand behind to my votes on all the budgets that we've accepted and adopted.
Will you be providing that, or will you be doing the oversight when it comes to looking at some of the things that maybe are a little fat in the government, maybe could take a little cut? Will you be looking into those things like that?
Yeah, we do that through the budget process. And this is an open process. Again, back to transparency. We hold workshops pretty much throughout the month of June and into July in order to hopefully get a budget adopted by the end of September. And so we hold multiple workshops. I believe we had 6 or 7 of them last year. And those were literally paper out, pencil, and highlighters, and going line by line often on certain budget sections. And so we would go through those things and really hone in and make cuts where we thought we could make cuts. And on the other side, sometimes you make additions, like based on community feedback. If the community is saying, hey, we need to pour more money into road paving or whatever the situation is, we are the eyes and the ears to the citizens. So we are elected to represent them. And so when we get over and over complaints or concerns about a certain issue, sometimes during the budget process, a council member will recommend that, well, let's up roadway infrastructure cost by a certain amount of money in order to tackle some of those issues. And so that's our opportunity to get to do so. But I encourage any citizen who has concerns that there is misspending or that there is not a conservative approach to the financials, I highly encourage them to join us at the budget workshops. I think that you'll learn very fast that it's a very deep subject, and it's a very thorough topic. And all 7 of us, I can't speak for the council, but my experience on the council is that every single elected member of that body sharpens their pencils good, and they show up to work during the budget session.
I love that these cities are so transparent with that, and that when you guys hold budget workshops, the public's welcome. Come in there and start looking. And the process is important. It's very important in how things go forward. But yeah, the workshops are open, and I hope that people will go and check them out. So
yeah, when you participate in the process, you gain an understanding of the results. And so when people are there, even if they're observing or just asking questions before or after the meetings, you learn a whole lot, and you learn the method behind the madness and the cost of these things. It's insane, the amount of money that things cost nowadays. And when you're talking about it on a governmental level, that has to be extremely durable. If I have this on the top of my head because the City Hall library is going to have a small pergola out beside it. But if you were building a pergola on your backyard, it would be far less expensive than if you're building it for a governmental facility, because those things have to withstand certain requirements that are required by code and by law. And so the building requirements for City Hall, for instance, that's going to be coming that's a building that's going to be meant to last 50 to 75 years versus a home that has to have a little bit different construction. So the costs it's apples to oranges. So you learn a whole lot about the process, was my point.
The thing about doing these shows and being involved in the last 3 years is I've gotten to see a lot of things that, I've seen some of these things you're talking about, and it blows your mind because you come into it one way and then you see all of this. And but yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. So I want to talk to you before I close out, because we're getting ready for that time. But I wanted to talk to you about roads. The roads are something that they belong to the state, they belong to the city. It's a quasi both. There's a lot going on with the roads. So I wanted to know, as far as funding for the roads, do you think it's appropriate? Would you like to see more? What are some of your concerns with the roads right now?
Yeah, we do have a road rehabilitation schedule that we go in on the city-owned roads. That we go in and strategically repair, repave, replace on a schedule, on a timeline, and there's all those roads are graded. There's an organization that actually goes through and drives every road and grades them, and so there is a very strategic plan. I would love to see us be a little more intentional about some of the repairs that need to be done. So let's catch some of the potholes, for instance, a little earlier, so that it doesn't tear up the bulk of the roads. But you're right. Many of our major thoroughfares are owned by the state, and we are extremely limited on what we can do on 1387, on 663, on 287, on 67. These are roads that TxDOT maintains and ultimately decides what's going to take place on them. So we are limited in some areas, but I believe that I've been hearing it through this campaign season from pretty much every candidate that you've had on and on other shows, is that roads and traffic is one of the main concerns of the citizenry. So we hear you. We really do. We are in some growing pains as a community, and these things take time. Like, for instance, Walnut Grove Road, which is either under construction or very soon will be, has taken a really long time to gain all of the right-of-way acquisitions, so gaining all the land that's needed from the homeowners, because you don't want to go and just steal their land. That wouldn't be right. And so it takes time to work deals, to have fair valuations done and a fair offer made, and then acquire the land without eminent domain and buy it from people. And that's what we've done. But that's a gradual, slow process. And so I would encourage my fellow Midlothian citizens to be patient and understand that stuff, growing pains take time, and we're working through them on a one-on-one individual basis for each project.
Yeah, it is a big project. And whenever I talk to, even talking to Waxahachie, they tell me, we're $40 million behind or something, and I could have the numbers wrong, but I'm just throwing a number out there. Yeah. Behind on roads. We're always behind on roads. Trying to keep up with that is quite an expenditure. So I wanted to hit the downtown plan and then have a closeout. So, we're getting a City Hall. Can you provide an update? Are you happy with what's going on? How it's being built. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, very excited about the coming City Hall. I understand it's about an 18-month project, and we are a couple of months into that. So if you haven't been downtown lately, please go. You'll notice that our downtown is fenced off, and they are digging to install infrastructure right now for the City Hall, which is currently across the street from Heritage Park. This construction is taking place across the street from Heritage Park, which is where the new City Hall lot is going to go. While you're down there, go into some of the retail shops, go into some of the restaurants, and support those businesses because they are in a crunch during this construction season that we're in. So please support local and support your downtown. As far as the City Hall facilities themselves, really excited about it. It's going to have have an easy and good, healthy flow for our community to use, because it's your building, and it's going to be very customer service friendly. So you will have easy access and easy flow to come and and participate in your government, to come and pay your water bill when needed, and to come and take care of all your construction permitting and the whole deal. Another portion of it that I'm really excited about is the public library, and it's going to be state-of-the-art public library with an outdoor play area for the kids. And I think that it's a really good setup, and I love the fact that it's staying. And I know there's a lot of disagreement on this, but I personally love the fact that it's staying in the heart of our downtown, because I believe our downtown should be a destination point, and so people should come to their city council meetings and then go catch dinner right there next door somewhere in downtown and make it an event.
So you're happy with the way the City Hall project is going? Because you touched on this, I just want to ask you real quick, rec bond, still something that you guys are going to start building. It's starting to work its way that way. They were talking about a community pool or rec center. Is that something that you're going to try to push in this next term?
Yeah, I think that it's on the schedule. It's a matter of the debt capacity. In order to not raise the tax rate, to either hold it or to gradually lower it, like we spoke about before, there's a timing element to releasing the debt, and that's been the delay. And so I think that, generally speaking, I think there's a desire to see that. The voters voted yes to that bond project, so there's a desire from the community. So therefore, there should be a desire from the council to see that project come to fruition. But yeah, I have to say one more thing about downtown, and that is that after this city hall gets built, I would love to see an expansion of parking, which already we're going to gain about 100 parking spots after City Hall is complete, but a further expansion of parking where our current City Hall sits. And let's expand that Heritage Park and make it really a family-friendly festival sort of atmosphere to create a truly walkable downtown on all four sides of that new City Hall facility. So we'd love to see that take place as well.
Well, there you have it. Now that's the answer on the rec. So this is the part of the show where you talk directly to the people of Midlothian. Since now you're going to be steering the ship, they'd like to hear from their mayor. What go ahead and talk to them, and so they can know what you got to say.
Yeah, well, Midlothian friends, I am honored and blessed to serve you in this capacity. I am extremely grateful, as we started this show off for Mayor Richard Reno and his service to our community. I do know and understand that it's on the shoulders of the men and women who served before me that I now stand, and I hope to serve and serve you well and to represent them well, those that served before. I'm available. I'm here. I'm transparent. I'm open. I'm honest. I'm real. I'm raw. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who lives in Midlothian that loves this community. So if you see me out and about, feel free to stop me and let's chat. Let's grab a cup of coffee if you have a concern with something. I'm here for you. And so over these next 3 years, I'm excited to serve you. I've watched these shows before, DV, and this is where everybody says, go vote for me. So I will say that. Please go vote. And I will be the only one listed as the mayor, so you won't have any other choice but to vote for me. So there's that. But I do encourage you, community of Midlothian, to please go vote. Your voice needs to be heard in this upcoming election on May 6th, with early voting a couple of weeks before. And I plan to be out there at the polls, meeting voters, shaking hands, and kissing babies. Not kissing hands and shaking babies, because that would be bad. But no. As you can tell, I like to have a good time and look forward to meeting all of you folks that come out and vote. So that's me. That's who I am. And I'm here and available to you guys.
Congratulations again. And, I wish you the best in these 3 years going forward. I'll keep you in my prayers because this is a lot to carry. And so you're carrying it. You're doing it. And I don't want you doing it alone. So I will keep you in prayer about that.
Appreciate that.
So, I got Mr. Sibley, Councilman Sibley coming on. I have several of the Mr. Gardner. He's coming on. Several of the candidates for school board. I have the bond coming. I have it all scheduled for you, the people of Ellis County, going forward. There are other interviews with the Cement City Chatter guys. Go check them out. The more informed you are, the better. So we kind of tag team this year and got some more information out for you. So again, I appreciate you coming on, sir. And, I wish you the best.
Thank you, DV. Thank you, Midlothian.